In this episode of Artists and Chefs at Home, we'll be visiting a century-old Italianate mansion in one of San Antonio's oldest neighborhoods. Artist Alyssa Danna will create a tablescape inspired by Italy's rich art traditions and verdant countryside. Chef Nicola Blaque will follow that theme in the kitchen with an easy-to-make Italian meal rich in flavors and traditions. It all takes place in homeowners Jane and Michael Goldstein's historic house, Villa Amore.
Our house is called Villa Amore, which is Italian for the House of Love. It was built in 1920. We filled the foyer with art that we've purchased during our travels. About half the art in the home is from local artists from San Antonio and from Austin. The main living area has 14-foot-high ceilings with hand-painted stencil on the wood beams. Our favorite room is the loggia, or the sunroom, which has the original black and white tile floor. It also has groin-vaulted ceiling, which is a very traditional and typical style that you'll see in Italy. The foyer and the dining room have baccarat chandeliers, which are original to the house. The original kitchen was on the lower level of the home, but in 2004, when the home was renovated, it was relocated to the second level, or the main level of the home, and has an oven and range that are imported from France.
I've been a professional chef for 7 years, and I studied at the Culinary Institute of America, and I own 2 restaurants here in San Antonio, Texas. For my Italian meal, I just wanted to capture the freshness and the brightness of all the fresh vegetables and fruits that are always incorporated in Italian cuisine.
My name is Alyssa Danna. I have been a professional artist for around 10 years now. I like working with multitudes of new objects and old objects that I combine to create a more lively interpretation of the object. For my tablescape, we used inspiration from marble that you would find in Italy, and we also looked at the famous Venetian glass blowing. For the centerpiece, I knew that I wanted to draw on my skill at painting silk and dried flowers. So we wanted to incorporate these elements with my art.
I created a classic Italian menu, starting off with a heirloom tomato and peach and burrata salad. Peaches grow very well in Italy, and I wanted to incorporate that with the tomatoes that are grown there. We did a homemade balsamic reduction with that and topped it off with basil and burrata cheese, and it was just a nice, refreshing salad. I like to work with firm peaches because they're easier to cut. And we're gonna take our knife and go as close as we can to the seed. Take your knife on a bias and basically let it drag. You want extremely thin slices. You don't want the red onion to overpower the salad. We're gonna move on to the basil, and we're gonna take a few leaves, and we are going to make a chiffonade cut. And then we have some smaller leaves in here that we're gonna add to the salad as well. I went to culinary school back in 2014. Prior to that, I was in the Army for 10 years. And so while I was in the Army, I just had a passion for cooking. I didn't have any dreams of really going to culinary school, but after multiple deployments in the Army, I kind of just wanted a different pace in life. And so I decided to go to culinary school. I fell in love with it. I started my business while I was in culinary school, and I started working as a caterer and private chef. And eventually that blossomed into a business where I was cooking for the San Antonio Spurs and other professional basketball players. I decided to open up my restaurant back in 2018, the Jerk Shack. And within the first couple years, we had national recognition. We were recognized by Eater as one of the best new restaurants in America. Also GQ, we've been featured in Southern Living and Just this past year of 2023, I was James Beard nominated. And there you have your heirloom tomato, peach, and burrata salad.
For the silk flowers, I chose 2 varieties of poppies because they are native to Italy. We take this and we just bunch them loosely, get some paint, and brush over the tops of the petals. I'm going to add some water so that it dilutes my paint a little bit. And as you can see, whenever I add water, the fabric soaks up some of the paint and gives us a nice soft variation. I attended Lamar University in Beaumont, Texas, and then I went on to get a graduate degree from the University of Texas at San Antonio. For the centerpiece, I wanted to work on the floral arrangement by bringing in my skill with painting silk and dried flowers and create something that would draw on their structure and highlight different aspects of their composition. These are a couple other examples of florals I chose to paint. And as you can see, I came through and I painted just the ridges of the veins. I chose a smaller poppy for some color. It ties in with our place cards. And for this one, I chose to paint the stems gold. For some quicker options, coming through on a piece of foliage like this, it would be fine to just hit them quickly with a brush. Painting the stems, first you start by removing all of these leaves, and then you can just brush really quickly both sides and attach once everything is dry. I have a bunch of grass, and I've gone through and highlighted the edges of some of these leaves with gold paint. Just selecting a few here and there so that you maintain this striking bright contrast that it came with. For a much faster version, holding it away from you, we're going to stripe through with our paint. And now we have this lustrous grass for our arrangement.
For our main course, we're going to make a classic Italian dish, chicken cacciatori. I was inspired by my own heritage. Cacciatori, it resonates very well with Caribbean food. We have a dish called brown stew chicken, and I thought of it as the Italian brown stew chicken in a red sauce. First, we'll add our mushrooms, and those will soak up a lot of the oil that was left over from the chicken, and it'll also pick up the additional spices that were left from the chicken. And this is the basis of our sauce. You'll also smell the aroma of all the vegetables tying themselves together. Once that happens, it's time to add in our champagne tomatoes and our Roma tomatoes. And we're just gonna give that a nice, gentle mix in, and we're gonna let it sit for a few more minutes before we add anything else in. The San Antonio food scene is emerging right now. We've got tons of new concepts from chefs like myself who are not natives of San Antonio but are bringing our culture to San Antonio, and it's getting a lot of spotlight because a lot of us are immigrants, and or we're second generation immigrants, and San Antonio has not seen food from these cultures, so it's I would say a wildfire right now. To go with our cacciatori, we are going to do a homemade gnocchi. Ingredients are mashed potatoes, an egg, a little bit of olive oil, and some flour. We're gonna make a nice mess right here, combining it all together. I remember my mom making chicken and dumplings with brown stew chicken. It's gonna get all over your hand. And you're gonna feel the mashed potatoes, and it's okay. We're gonna sprinkle some flour around so we could start working this dough. Now, if you have a mixer at home, you're welcome to just throw all these ingredients together. It's a little bit. So I feel my dough starting to get a little firm. We're gonna take it and we're gonna divide it up into 4 pieces. Take a little bit of flour so it doesn't stick to the surface. And then I would say about 1 inch in between. Place it on the back of the fork and you're gonna press down and make this nice little gnocchi piece. And they're gonna simmer for about 2 to 3 minutes. And here's our cacciatori. And this is meant to be kind of like a one-pot dinner. Our garnishes, the remaining thyme and oregano, sprinkle that on. Some chili flakes, a little salt, fresh slices of garlic, our Parmesan cheese. We're gonna add a little more cheese, because who doesn't like cheese on top of their cacciatori? And here we are, chicken cacciatori with gnocchi and Parmesan cheese.
I'm working at the corner of the table so that I can reach everything easily, and then once it's finished, I'll just slide it to the middle. We have this crystal vase from Michael and Jane, and I like to start with some filler, get them roughed in. And then I want this big dramatic piece. Since we painted these leaves, I'm wanting to make sure they're visible by pushing them up against the edges of the vase. When you're arranging silk flowers, think about the different heights that you have and the different visual weight of each bloom or grass. For the greenery, I chose this shape of leaf for its structure and because it reminds me of olive trees. Feel free to take a step back and assess your arrangement and edit. You really need a little distance to understand the whole composition. Separate these a little bit. I think this looks good. I'm choosing to light this beautiful crystal vase from the bottom so that it becomes elevated and seems illuminated from within. Around the centerpiece, I wanted to use real eucalyptus to evoke the natural greenery of the Italian countryside. I've got some longer pieces like this that just have a great motion. And then I'm tucking in some smaller pieces that have berries to fill them out a little bit. I prefer to build in an asymmetrical pattern as opposed to a rigidly symmetrical pattern because the edges of the table are so regular. Having asymmetry going on within allows for freedom of movement. As a viewer experiences my work, especially one of the installation pieces, I want them to feel like they are a part of it and not only passing through, but that they need to take time and sift through all of it. And I am taking these dark blue and light blue and just I'm going to tuck them in between, not too regularly, not to where it looks like a pattern. Just look for any opportunities to really hide a gem. They're almost a surprise.
For our dessert course, we're gonna do a lemon torte. You're welcome to use a hand mixer. I prefer to use a whisk. And
As you're mixing, it's gonna start to lighten in color because of the sugar. We're gonna mix until it creates a creamy-like consistency, almost looking like a hollandaise. When you're zesting, you don't wanna go too far down because that sweet lemon flavor that's on the skin is gonna go away and it's gonna turn to that nasty bitter stuff. Your mixture is not gonna be completely smooth, and that's okay. You don't want it completely smooth. Now the cornstarch is gonna act as a thickening agent. There's no flour inside of this recipe. So for the low carb people, this is perfect for you. The next step of our lemon torte, we're gonna take 6 egg whites and we're gonna whip those to stiff peaks. After about 5 minutes, your egg whites will begin to look like this. If you're using a hand mixer, the egg whites will begin to stiffen probably after about 2 minutes. And you want to gently fold your egg whites. This baking dish I've lined with parchment paper, and there's a little bit of butter on the other side of the parchment paper just to help it stick to the baking dish. And we're gonna bake this off into the oven at 350 degrees for about 45 minutes. So after about 45 minutes, our torte will look like this. So to start our simple syrup, we're gonna start off with 1 cup of water.
I like to call myself a simplest when I cook, and that means I just like a natural way of cooking. You know, I rather take what's available in its naturalist form and then enhance it with just like basic seasonings and going from there.
Almost like a sponge cake, very light, lemony, and garnished with the fresh fruit. It's perfect for a hot summer day. And last, this is a simple syrup that we made earlier. And we want to mainly glaze the berries. And there you have it, our lemon torte with fresh berries and simple syrup.
For the place card holders, I drew inspiration from Italian marble and Venetian glass. I'm kind of applying it like butter. That's the kind of consistency. I like this color because of its sort of blush tone. It gives a warmth to our tablescape. While our glass votive is drying, we are going to go work on the place card. I love this color of cardstock because it ties in with the upholstery of the chairs. I love the triad of colors in this marble mixture because they evoke the natural colors found in Italy. And hold the clip still so that as you're adding weight to it, it stays in the middle. Then we're going to add some more polished marbles. I liked the gold color marbles because they complement the rim and the clip holder. And we're adding a bright pop of blue for contrast. Maybe one more. I like the round marbles in the vases because they contrast in texture with these marble pebbles. I chose the blue because it is a great complement to the gold that we're using. For the place setting, I chose from Michael and Jane's great collection of ornate silverware, glassware, and plates. We have this cream and gilded dinner plate. We have this beautiful cut crystal with this irregular edge, and it pairs really nicely with our wine glasses I've selected. Here is the wine glass, and then we have a water glass. And we have this beautiful silverware, which is from Jane's mother. Next, we have our custom place card holder. And lastly, we have napkins. We're going to gather it in the middle and pull it through this beautiful tassel napkin holder. We want to flip this and insert one of the beautiful flowers that we made during our DIY. The napkin rings are made from this beautiful embroidery floss that looks metallic, and it brings in the gold from the center of the table out to the guest. For our final accent, we will be adding 4 smoked glass votives to each corner of the table. I wanted my tablescape to reflect the old-style elegance of the house and dining room and its Italian design. The marble pebbles and glass beads remind us of Italy's beautiful statuary and crafted glass. The live greenery evokes the verdant rolling hills of the countryside, and the center vase of painted flowers and plants blends one of my signature artistic styles into the theme.
Chef Nicola's menu was easy to prepare. It filled the house with amazing aromas. We particularly enjoyed the fresh start with a salad with cold peaches and heirloom tomatoes. Alyssa's tablescape was so beautiful. It really enhanced the look of the dining room. It fit so well on the dining table and matched the colors with the chairs. Really allowed the entire room to come alive. To friends.
To friends.
Thanks for joining us. On our website, artisanchefs.com, you will find detailed recipes, table creation tips, and a list of local retailers where you can purchase our table and meal kits to create your own custom dinner party.